What's up, guys? This is the Awesemo.com Night Shift Podcast talking MLB for Thursday, June 7th. We've got two 5-game slates to talk about. I'll go through them very quickly, give you some notes on each game, anything that sticks out. Get to Awesemo.com, check out our premium stuff. You get access to the ownership projections, which I find very helpful. The player rankings, where we got players graded on an A through E scale, I believe it is. Usually don't want to go down to the E's, but you want some A's, you want some A values, and we've got you covered there. All right, let's get to the early slate, of course. We'll start with, we've got Tyler Anderson going up against Tyler Mahle. Anderson only 6,900 here. He's a guy that I believe in. He's outside of Coors. Yes, it's in a good hitter's park, but the Reds really only have one or two righties that I'm scared of, and I'm guessing you know who, well, one of them is, but he's got good swing and miss stuff, and there are definitely some strikeouts here in this Reds lineup, so Anderson's going to be a guy I'm very heavy on, and he'll probably be pretty chalky on this morning slate, but I don't really care because I don't see a lot of options that I'm really crazy about. The Cincinnati bat that I like is Eugenio Suarez, just an automatic play really for me against a lefty, or at least a guy I'll consider against pretty much any lefty. I think he's just that good of a hitter right now. Mahle going for the Reds is getting blasted by lefties on the year, 45.6% hard contact. His WOBA is almost 400. 4.76 xFIP isn't terrible. I don't think he's a bad pitcher, but some of those numbers are pretty alarming, so I can get to a Colorado stack for sure. I like Blackman, I like Cargo, and Arenado. Feels like I say those guys' names every single day, but when they're against a righty, those are my three favorites, so hard for me to not mention them. Let's go to Dodgers and Pirates. Dennis Santana against Jameson Taillon. Santana, I'm giving a pass because of his first start in Coors. Like, whatever, you're making your debut, you have to pitch in Coors Field. That sucks. Like, there's no getting around it. That's just a really tough place to be. So, all right, got distracted there for a second. Too busy looking at DK tournaments. Anyways. So Santana, he still missed some bats, and going up against the Pirates, I think it's an okay matchup, especially if they've got Harrison, Cervelli, Marte, Jordy Mercer, and then Taillon's a righty, get that pitcher spot in there. So I like Santana a lot, especially if he's going to be 4,900. That's really appealing. I don't know how I really get away from that, but I guess we shall see if we're able to get away from that. All right, the Pittsburgh bats that I like are Meadows. He just seems to smash everything, and then Dickerson as well. If Santana starts to become chalky, I think those are two guys I would use as leverage bats. But really, it's all about Santana for me. Jameson Taillon for 8,100 against the Dodgers. He's put up a couple of good starts in a row, especially that last one where he went 6 innings. Oh, wait, did he go 8 innings or 6 innings? I can't remember. Anyways, he's been solid against righties, and this is, like, me playing Taillon will depend on this Dodgers lineup. Because they can roll out a really good lineup against righties, they can roll out a really good lineup against lefties, or at least a adequate one against each. So it's going to be lineup dependent for me. For Taillon, it's a good price, 8,100. He's been really good against righties, so that's kind of what's making me want to play him here for 8,100, but not super crazy about it. I like Grandal and Bellinger against him individually. White Sox Twins, James Shields going up against Jose Barrios. Barrios is 10-6. I have no issue using him here against the White Sox. I mean, just look at the bottom of the order for the White Sox. It's really, really tough. Yeah, he might give up a couple hard hits to Moncada or Abreu or maybe even Davidson, but the strikeout upside is there for him, and especially against those three guys that I just mentioned, Davidson and Moncada specifically. If you're targeting a bat against Barrios, my favorite is Moncada. Just hits righties so hard, and Barrios isn't immune to giving up some hard contact from time to time, even though he's done a good job limiting it overall this year. Shields going for the White Sox. He's actually, I think he's capable of having another good start here, and people have been frustrated targeting against him, and they'll probably continue to target against him. And I actually want to target some of the righties against Shields, so specifically Dozier and Sano. Shields has been pretty good against lefties, actually really good. Like, the strikeout numbers aren't crazy, but the quality of contact he's giving up is very low to left-handed hitters. So I'm not all that crazy about like Logan Morrison and Eduardo Escobar, but Kepler and Rosario are two guys that I'm pretty much always going to have interest in against either side when they're priced appropriately. Let's go to Miami and St. Louis. Eliezer Hernandez against Miles McCollus. Hernandez, just 10 strikeouts in 21 innings this year for him. He doesn't really do a good job getting guys to chase or really swing for that matter. He's also getting hit hard by both righties and lefties, so sounds like the perfect pitcher to try to stack against. St. Louis, maybe my favorite stack on the early slate. It just seems like a spot where they could explode. I mean, I'm giving the edge to Carpenter and Fowler right now, but you can talk me into an entire St. Louis stack with some combination of Ozuna and Pham and Martinez, Molina. I think they're all going to be on a healthy amount of my teams on this early slate. McCollus, it seems like a pretty good spot for him against the Marlins. He's just a really solid pitcher, it looks like. He doesn't really do anything spectacular outside of one start against the Royals, but he's been steady, and I'm a little worried about how his strikeout upside in general, but the Marlins have such a poor lineup that I think he can just go deep in this game, so I'm willing to pay up for him here. If I was playing a Marlins bat, it would probably be Justin Bour. Just hope for a home run off. McCollus is having a tough time striking out lefties and then giving up some power to them. Phillies and Cubs, last game of the early slate. We have Nick Pivetta going up against Tyler Chatwood. Pivetta for 10K didn't work out last time, and now he gets a tough matchup against the Cubs, who, of course, have some power lefties. I think I'll be below the field on Pivetta just because I'm worried about him against lefties, and I prefer Barrios. I prefer McCollus over him, and McCollus is quite a bit more expensive, but I'll just try to get up to him in that range. I don't think I'm going with Pivetta much on this early slate. The Cubs bats I like are Rizzo and Zobrist, and Hayward even. Been playing him a little bit more lately. Looks like he's improved after a couple rough seasons with the Cubs. Chatwood, while I don't think he's the craziest play here on this early slate, because he's been good against righties, he's been adequate, but against lefties, not the same story. He's going to have a tough time with the lefties here for the Phillies, and the majority of hitters for the Phillies almost always have the platoon advantage because Hernandez and Santana are almost always in the lineup, and they're both switch hitters and both hit well from each side. So I like Santana. I like Nick Williams if he's in the lineup, and Cesar Hernandez leading off. Even Odubel Herrera. I think a Philly stack may go under-owned for this slate. Maybe a Wrigley win game, so keep your eye on that. But Philly stack sort of my sneaky play against Chatwood, especially those lefties. All right, moving on to the main slate. Let me open up a DraftKings tab here. They got a bunch of lowball tournaments for today. I just realized. Click on this. Where are we at here? Oh, all right. All right. So, Detroit and Boston. We got Matt Boyd going up against Jalen Beeks. Boyd is 5,800 in a tough matchup against the Red Sox. They've been better against lefties, as we noted. I think he's going to be super low owned. Boyd is. I could see him having actually a pretty good start against Boston without Mookie Betts in the lineup. So I don't think he's the craziest option for 5,800. But I'm not going crazy with Boyd. I like Bogarts and JD and Eduardo Nunez against him as well. I think Boston is going to be a popular stack. I may not be as high on them as a stack as far as full 5-man stacking them. Beeks looks like he's got decent strikeout stuff. The problem is that he's a lefty, and I don't really like playing lefties against the Tigers. They just don't strike out. They hit him fairly hard, and it's sort of hard for me to play him in his debut in a tough matchup, even at that price. I think a Tigers stack makes some sense. I wonder if he's going to be owned at all. So McCann and Castellanos and Cabrera are the main guys I want to target for the Tigers. Baltimore and Toronto. We've got David Hess going up against Jaime Garcia. Hess doesn't really strike anyone out, and those are always guys I want to stack against. So the Blue Jays, I can just tell right now, based on these prices, based on that run total, they're going to be possibly the highest owned stack of this main slate. You've got Granderson for 3,700 and Solarte for 4,000. Smoke for 4,300. He's the most expensive Blue Jay. Teoscar in there for 4,200. I like Morales for 3,400. I think a lot of people will go to Smoke, but I'll have a decent amount of Toronto stacks with Morales in there. I'll force him in some just because he's been hitting the ball so hard lately. Jaime going for the Blue Jays is 6,600 here. This is the definition of a boomer bust play. He hasn't really done anything of late that makes me want to play him, but I have to consider him here. As I said, there's limited options down low. There's limited options on this slate with only 5 games, but Baltimore's just one of the worst teams in the MLB, and I'm pretty certain Jaime can strike out some guys here, assuming he has his A or B game. I don't think he needs to have his A game to survive here. I think he just needs to just be okay for 6,600 on this slate. And I want to have someone in this price range, and he sort of makes the most sense, I think. Him or Boyd are going to be my 2 cheap pitchers on this late slate, I think. Seattle and Tampa Bay. We've got Mike Leake going up against, Tampa Bay is doing a bullpen game. I think it's going to be Romo, and then I don't know who's going to come in after him. It could be Pruitt. It could be Stanek. I don't know how they're doing this. But I mean, it's tough to tell with the 2 different pitchers who are the Seattle bats that you want to play. But Haniger and Cruz are always nice options, as is Seager, because I'm pretty certain he's going to see a handful of righties. In Seattle, I mean, you could get to a full stack that just have a bunch of pretty good bats in their lineup. Leake just went 7 innings, 8 Ks against the Rays 6 days ago. So there's no doubt he could have a good start, but he's 7,500. If he's going to be any sort of owned, even in double digits at all, I mean, I'll pass pretty easily with Leake. I'm not playing Mike Leake chalk. The Rays are throwing out some awful lineups lately, so I get it, but I can't do it with Leake if he's going to be owned. Maybe that price will be enough to get people off of him, but I really like Crone and Wilson Ramos against him. He just has a really tough time with righty power, has for the last couple of years. Houston and Texas. We've got Garrett Cole going up against Cole Hamels. The strikeouts are still there for Cole despite having trouble giving up runs in his last few starts, but I mean, yeah, he's 14K, so I get how you don't play him, but how do you not play him? So it's just seems like just a nut spot for Garrett Cole, and I think he had an enormous start against Texas, maybe the first or second start of the season. He's the best pitcher on this night slate by a wide margin, in my opinion. And Just so much strikeout upside. He's got such a great chance to be the highest scoring raw pitcher, or highest scoring raw point pitcher, I should say. If Cole's going to be mega chalk and you're scared of that and you want to target against him, I think Beltre or Mazzara are the two guys I like, but I think Cole's going to have the advantage against pretty much all of these guys, maybe not Beltre. So it's really tough for me to even recommend taking Texas bats. We got Cole Hamels against the Astros. Seems like the 12th time we've seen this matchup this season. I mean, I can't get to playing Cole Hamels here. 8,100 against probably 9 righties for the Astros. Just way too many hard hits he gives up against righties. So I like the Houston stack. I mean, I've said this however many times Cole Hamels has faced them. So I should just remove myself from this portion of the podcast because Hamels just seems to have their number. But I like the top 4 again. I can't help but like them. They're expensive, so it's hard to fit Garrett Cole and Houston bats, but that's not going to stop me from trying. The numbers are telling me to play him. The numbers are telling me I don't like Hamels. So that's sort of where I'm at. You can ride with me or not. All right, last game of the night. Kansas City and Oakland. Jason Hamill going up against Frankie Montas. Hamels, as I said last week, I think he's finished. He just got rocked by this team last week, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm all over the Oakland bats once again. They're priced up a little bit, which is nice to see. So I don't think they're going to be super, super chalky, and that's appealing to me. So on the teams that I don't have Garrett Cole, they will be peppered with Oakland bats. Matt Olson in particular, Jed Lowry, Dustin Fowler, Chapman just got huge power. So Oakland, probably my favorite stack of the night, up there with Houston on this night slate. But yeah, just love the Oakland bats here against Hamill. Montas just went 8 innings against Kansas City, but the strikeouts are definitely a concern. I believe he only had 2 strikeouts in that start, and for 9,500, it's really tough to get to playing him when you don't think a guy has strikeout upside, and it's a team that doesn't really strike out in general. So I'll probably be off Montas. I like Moustakas against him. I don't mind Jorge Soler or Salvador Perez either. All right, that will do it for both the slates. We talked early slate, we talked main slate. Check us out on the MLB strategy video tomorrow morning. We will probably be doing that live, and we'll talk more about the main slate, and then we will just talk generally about the early slate after that. We'll get you guys to stick around a little bit. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope it got you started with your research for Thursday, June 7th, and good luck, guys.